everyone, I'm Tara Lon. Welcome to Time Out with Tinseltown Mom. Today's episode is brought to you by my new online accessory shop for women, Beyond Measure. Beyond Measure brings hope-filled messages through inspirational and faith-based products. Every item is handmade and customized for you. To shop for mom or yourself, go to beyondmeasure.shop. Again, that's beyondmeasure.shop. I'll also leave it in the show notes. I'm here today with award-winning author Tracy Hester Glass. Tracy is a life coach, speaker, and Bible teacher who's passionate about inspiring hurting women to walk away from pain and step into their God-given purpose. Today, she's going to talk about how she's managed a full-time career with a full-time passion. Hi, Tracy. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Tara. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm well, and thank you for having me on your show, Tinseltown Mom.
Well, I appreciate you being here. It sounds like you have a really busy schedule, so I appreciate you carving out a little time for me.
Oh, no problem. No problem.
Yeah. So before we get into the topic at hand, why don't you just tell us a little bit more about you and what you do?
Okay. All right. I always kind of divide when I explain who I am. I'm like, okay, there is a fun side of me, there is a corporate side of me, there's a creative side of me. There's so many sides to all of us,
Mm-hmm.
as moms and things. But I think I'll start with just who I am right now today, and kind of work backwards. So I'm a wife. And actually, it's a new role that I'm in. I got married in January of this year, and so I went through a season where I was single for 8 years, and so I'm remarried. So I am a wife. I am a mom of two wonderful children. I have adult children. So my daughter is will be 30, and my son is 28. And last year I became a grandmother, so I'm enjoying that role as well. But I consider that kind of like my full-time job now. But my other jobs consist of I have been in the sales arena, in the sales industry, in healthcare for over 30 years of my career. And also I am, in the last 8 years, I've become an author of two books. I am also a speaker, and I'm a life coach. And so I feel like in this phase of my life, the last 8 to 10 years is really when I've been moving more in my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a little bit about what I do.
Okay, awesome. Well, it sounds like that's a very full life. And I know there's a lot of moms in the position that you're in where they're balancing or managing, I should say, a lot of things where you have a full-time role in your career or in your job, but you're
Mhm.
also pursuing a full-time passion.
Right,
So,
right,
yeah. So there's a lot of moms actually in full-time careers or jobs, but they have passions and they haven't even started pursuing it yet because they don't know how to. So
right.
it's good that you'll be able to give us some insight on how you've managed to make it work for so long. So you've mentioned that you've been in your sales, the corporate role for over 30 years. When did
Hmm.
you start thinking, I have some other passions that I want to pursue? And then just you had an outlook as far as like what you wanted to do other than your current role. Like how long ago would you say that happened?
Caroline, I believe that it started happening when I was in my early 40s. And I don't mind telling everybody my age. I'm 60 years old.
And she doesn't look it, okay? She does not even look like she has a grandchild or
Thank
adult kids
you.
like that.
But I would say it happened in my 40s, and my kids were possibly around junior high school,
Mm-hmm.
maybe starting high school. And I think the reason why was because prior to that, my full-time job was being a mom. And unfortunately, as I reflect back on that time, I I said I should have been able to balance it better, with trying to understand my passions in life. But honestly, it wasn't a top five on my list during that season of my life. But again, as the kids started getting older, I began to realize, hmm, what am I going to do when the kids leave? I think that was the question because it was like emptiness and the realization that I know right now that my passion and my title of mom is my primary responsibility, but I just start feeling like there's so much more that God had for me that was it was almost like Terline. I don't know if you ever experienced it, but it was a thing of when you start feeling this desire to, I have to discover this, I have to fulfill this. And so I think that that started kind of bubbling up at me. And during the time, I was really interested in becoming an esthetician. And I still love that. I still skincare and just well-being. I'm still into that. So I decided I found a esthetician school or beauty school that offered the course in the evening time.
Mm.
And so I decided to do that. So right after work, I left work and for 2 hours, 3 hours, I would go to school. And honestly, I hadn't had it figured out, Caroline, of where this was going. I just had
Mhm.
this amazing passion in me to do something different and to begin to discover um, some other things about myself. And
Mhm.
I think that what was happening in my career, I was just frustrated. I was frustrated with the whole sales. My job was has always been very demanding, and I needed to tap into more of the creative side of me. So I always like to look at life as like a triangle. And so, like, one side is work, one side is fun, and one side is spirit, and the bottom side is spiritual. So my life was kind of lopsided. It was all work.
Mm. Mhm.
And so it was just that season for me to kind of explore the creative side of me, which is I call like the fun side of who I am. And I did that. And it was like, it was very cathartic. I think it was because I was tapping into a side of me that I had never experienced before, but also that I was taking time for myself because over those years, I don't feel like I had really taken a lot of time to nurture myself.
Yeah, that's good that you mentioned you were taking time for yourself because I think that as women and mothers, we're working the full-time job and we have these passions and these gifts and these other things we want to do, and we don't look at it as taking time for ourselves. But you
Right.
nailed it when you said you were doing the esthetician stuff. Some people might think, oh, that's just another job. But that was something that you enjoyed doing and you were taking time for yourself by actually working on that passion.
Right. It's like a hobby. It wasn't a
Yeah.
job for me. It was like, it's something that came natural. It was
Hmm.
a talent. It was something how I could serve others.
Yeah. And you look
Because
forward to it.
I did because as a teenager, I had really bad acne. And so I guess there was just, I wanted to help people that
Hmm.
maybe were going through the same thing or other issues because in your 40s, you start aging and things. And so it was that. It was the side, in this particular capacity, I could serve, it was a hobby, I could explore, I could become, and I didn't know it at the time, but I'm a lifelong learner. I love to learn. And so it was
Hmm.
meeting that need as well.
So, and how long did that season last that you were the esthetician, you were an esthetician and you were doing that after you left your full-time job?
As far as the schooling, it took 18 months. But after that, what I did was I went into business. I opened up a business with another partner who was a esthetician, and I started in the evening time doing esthetician work. And I probably for about 3 years I did that off in a space, but then I brought it into my home, and I did that for a season as well.
Okay, so
And
inquiring minds want to know, how did you balance a full-time sales position? Because I know that was demanding because I've worked in sales, or I used to, for more than 10 years. So I know that's demanding. How did you manage that with a business?
well, it wasn't a season where I was actively growing my business, Caroline. I was doing it in the evening and I was only doing it certain days out of the week. So it was
Mhm.
not every night that I was doing that. So, and I don't remember exactly my schedule, but maybe twice a week I was taking appointments in the evening and on Saturdays. So it was, again, it wasn't a full time gig that I was doing. And so that was how I did it. And honestly, I did not do it for very long because what happened was the kids' schedules started competing with my schedule. And so I put it aside. I kept my license and I still am licensed to this day. But during that season, it was the kids' schedule and other things that were going on in my life. But what I discovered during that season was that I need to do things for myself. I need to tap in and figure out my unique gifts that I have. And that was just one of the gifts, because I believe
Right.
we all have so many gifts that we need to
Hmm.
tap into. But what I celebrate about it is that I explored it.
Yeah. And that
Yeah.
opened the door for some other things that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Definitely.
going back to that season, because that's when you first kind of started this entrepreneurial type of attitude or things
Hmm.
that you knew in your heart that you wanted to do for yourself. Like, what are some things that you learned during that time, whether pros or cons, maybe that you can share with other moms that are maybe thinking of starting something? Because I remember for me during the season when I was in a full-time corporate while working on my brand, I remember some of the frustrations and just trying to balance it all, like with the kids' schedule and everything.
Hmm.
Like for you, what are some things that you think worked for you and some things maybe that you would have done differently back then? Because we know that you've
Yes.
grown since then.
Hmm. I think that I'll start with what did not work. Okay.
Hmm.
Is I wish I would have gotten more training on the whole back end of owning a business, which is the books, right?
Hmm.
Managing the finances and coming up with more of a plan to to see how it would grow. Again, how I was going into it is, this is a hobby and I am just serving here. But I realized something about me too during that season is that I'm just not a books type of person. I
Hmm.
That's just not me. And so if I were to go into business again, I would not do my own books, or I would probably take a course in learning how to do the books and keep client profiles and do all the necessary things. So it really is that back office stuff,
Hmm.
right? That can frustrate people. And again, I realized that I'm more of a visionary, Terralon, and a doer when it comes to the administrative things. That's where I can struggle, and that's really
Hmm.
required in if you're going to open a business and for it to be successful. So in
Yeah.
retrospect, I could have gotten more training or more of an understanding. And when I say that, like, there's so much software out there now that wasn't
Hmm.
even probably out there years ago when I was going through this, that can make things so much easier. But still, it's just that journey of investigating what's going to make it easier for my business to be totally successful
Right.
and to grow.
Yes.
I didn't have a growth mindset. Again, I went in with, hey, let's just explore where this kind of goes. I'm doing my
Right.
hobby here. So
Right.
it taught me that for it to be sustainable and to thrive, that I definitely needed to have more of a business background in maintaining my books and finances and things like that.
Yeah, that's important. That's good you said
Mhm.
that. So back then, did your job know that you were pursuing some things on the side? Like, what was that like?
No, not back then.
Okay. Okay.
No, it was a big secret, and I remember, like, I would go like into the bathroom and change my clothes into esthetician clothes. So I would take my work stuff off and, whew, and sometimes I was even changing in my car in the parking lot. Right. And no, I didn't let anybody know that
Hmm.
this is what I was doing, because I was at the time very frustrated, at the job that I was in.
Yeah. Right.
And I think that in a way, I was looking to escape
Yeah.
in some way, but no, I didn't. And that's tricky, right? To let your
Yeah.
job go. And I think back then it was kind of like maybe guilt that I'm exploring some
Yeah.
things about myself, but now I don't feel that way at all because
Yeah.
when you put in the hours required with your job, after you leave that job, that's your time.
Yes.
And I think sometimes as moms, we can feel guilty that
Mm-hmm.
we are pursuing our passions outside of our nine to five jobs, and
Right.
we shouldn't feel that way.
Right. No, that's
We
see, that's
shouldn't.
good that you said that. A lot of moms are feeling guilty. And actually, I think more companies they want mothers to pursue outside passions.
Now, yes,
Yeah, it's changed.
now
Yeah.
it is work-life balance.
Mhm.
It is just a whole different culture. And even since COVID,
Yes.
there's just more flexibility that
Right.
they want you to just be more balanced and to pursue hobbies and things. I noticed that recently I was doing a performance appraisal, and they put, that's a question they put on there, is how personally do you want to grow?
Oh.
And what they want to hear is that, hey, are
Hmm.
you going to start a new workout routine? Are you going to write a book? I mean, what are you going to
Hmm.
do personally
Yeah.
outside of jobs? So
Right.
they definitely want you balanced, because what they recognize is that a balanced employee is more productive, um, less time off,
Hmm.
not as sick.
Yeah.
So
Their mental health is better.
absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely.
So for you, fast forward, so you abandoned that business. Did you sell it or did you just close it down? What happened with the esthetician business?
I just closed it down.
Okay.
But I still have some equipment. I still keep up with my skills.
Yeah.
And I've often said when I retire, that will be my gig when I retire.
Okay. You have it in your back pocket.
So,
Okay.
yeah, it's kind of like building our toolkit, right, of
Hmm.
skills.
Right.
And that's kind of been my journey over the years, is I'm discovering more things about myself. And so later in life, there's so many things that I feel like I can tap into.
Hmm.
Um, so I want to encourage women to explore.
Yes, absolutely. So, and that's what
Yeah,
you did. You started with the esthetician position. And then how
right.
did that evolve into something different, another passion, another outlet?
Yeah. So after the esthetician, I started kind of mentoring and coaching women. I
Mm.
found that that was where I was needed to serve. There was a season in my life where I went through a divorce, and I was trying to, Caroline, rediscover myself. Like, who am I now? Because before, right, it was the model of I'm a mom, I'm a wife. And when that unit breaks up, it's really a reset of what I need to do in my life. And so I began to mentor, and coach women. And so I found that I was very interested in that field. And I went back to school.
Mm.
For 2 years, I became a life coach,
Wow.
because yeah, that's something that really interests me. And I've settled there because, again, the esthetician, great. It was a hobby, love it. That is a gift. I wouldn't say it's my primary gift though, Caroline. And so
Hmm.
I think as women, we have to go on a journey and discover what are our primary gifts, like what is our superpower? Because we all have these unique qualities about us that really make us different and stand out. And so um, I believe coaching and writing have become two of my superpowers that I've discovered. But again, if I had not gone on a journey, I would have never said 10 years ago, if you would have said to me, Caroline, I think maybe one of your superpowers is writing, I would have said, no way, no way. And so I think sometimes we limit ourselves as women, and we stay like in a box, and say, no, I only want to do this, or I think my gifts and talents lie here. But I think we might be surprised of some other things that we might be able to do. Um, and you never know. So I want to encourage everybody to try it out and then say, nah, that's not for me.
Right, right. So what I know from you now, Tracy, your passions, your brand, apart from your full-time job, is a lot. So I know that you've written the 2 books. I know you do the coaching. I see you speaking all over the place. Like what's the hours? Like what hours do you spend with your full-time job versus your full-time brand, I'll call it?
I spend 8 hours a day with my job. I do.
Mhm.
I put in my 40 hours, but we all work from home now. So it's a whole,
Yeah.
thank God for COVID.
Some blessings that came out of it.
COVID has been a blessing for us to do what we're talking about right now.
Mm-hmm.
To start a hobby, to tap into your gifts, into your talents, because I think it's given us the flexibility to work different hours.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer your questions, definitely. So in the daytime, I'm working. I work from home, so that is a blessing. But typically, my day starts about 5:30. I'm up
Mm-hmm.
and I'm working on something related
Mm-hmm.
to my talent, my ministry, book related, or something. And so I try to be very intentional and I try to organize my time. So I'll wake up in the morning, maybe spend an hour on something. Okay. And then in the evening, sometimes I'll work on something after work for maybe 2 hours. And so in a given week, I could put in 10 to 15 hours on my passion.
Mm-hmm.
10 to
Okay.
15.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that has not always been the case. With my kids at home, it was a different story.
Yeah. It's a
You
different
know,
season of
it's a
life right
it's a
now.
different season of life. So I want to say that because I don't want women to feel like, "Oh, I'm not doing enough. I need to be superwoman." No. Yeah. Back then, my goal was my family and raising my children.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to do it over, what I would do different, Teralon, because I did not recognize the value at the time of me discovering my talents, is I would, if you have the little ones at home and you just don't have the time, there are things you can still do. You can read a book. I just read a really good book. It's called Standout 2.0, and it has an assessment and it helps people discover what their talents are and where they stand out in life.
Hmm.
It's powerful. I highly recommend it. I think that we have to spend time as women to understand what makes us different and how can we use that difference in us to make a difference in our lives and other people's.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's really good. So what would you say to some of those women who they have a full-time job and their goal is to just transition out of that job? What would you, because I'm sure you've been there,
Yep.
in the past, and they'll just do whatever they need to do to get out of that job and they don't know how to do that.
Right. I would encourage them to come up with a plan first. And if they're very frustrated with their job, to begin working their hobby, to begin the journey of exploring what is my unique quality? Where do I, what can I start to do? So maybe they know what their business is. Okay. So start thinking about where I can build in my business. Maybe it's the knowledge gap, like I said, like maybe they're weak like I was in the back end business part of it. Then take a class. Maybe it's an Excel class that they need to take. So there's things that like we can do online, right? When we're really busy, when the kids shut down, there's ways that we could build knowledge, information, and our skills. So I would encourage them to do that and then come up with a plan. I mean, they can always work with a coach too, right?
Mhm.
To help them kind of sort it out, build their plan, and have accountability. Because I think that's really huge is to have someone in your life that you can bounce things off of, and that is really going to encourage you. And listening to podcasts, this is great, right? listening to what
Mm-hmm.
other people have done and other great other podcasts out there. So I would encourage that. But I think most of all is take the pressure off. Sometimes we can
Mm-hmm.
put so much pressure on ourselves. And what I've discovered is my life has been a journey. Where I am right now, it's been building over the years since my 40s. I've been kind of building, and everything kind of adds up to build that foundation that I have now.
No, that's really good advice. And then also incrementally, I like what you were saying with that. They can just do a little bit, even if
Right.
it's like you've written two books. How long, for example, the first book that you wrote, how long did it take you to write your first book?
That process was 2 years. Each book, it was a process of 2 years.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
people sometimes I think we have to do something like quickly and right
No,
away,
no.
but just incrementally, we can do
Yeah,
something.
exactly. And it just starts somewhere. Writing a book started with journaling.
Mm.
Yeah, it really did. And then the
Mm-hmm.
journaling turned into a book. And sometimes we put so much pressure and we stop things because we feel like I gotta have it all figured out. Well, when I was journaling, Terline, the grammar wasn't right, sentences weren't formatted. It doesn't matter. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter because, I'm a writer. I'm not an editor. And so I know my role. And so I don't want people to stop. Sometimes we stop what we're supposed to do because we feel like something's lacking about us or I'm not there yet. I just want to encourage you, just go. Just
Mm-hmm.
go and do it.
That's really good. That's really good. Now, is there anything else that you can think of that maybe was helpful for you just during this whole career of yours and having the passions that you had for so many years as far as women taking that step? Like, is there anything else you can think of that maybe was helpful for you?
Yeah, I just want to encourage women to um, take the time to pour into themselves. Figure out what it is that you really need to thrive and grow in life, and don't put yourself on the back burner in life. And so, if
Mm-hmm.
that is emotionally, don't put yourself on the back burner emotionally. Make sure that you're in healthy environments that to nurture your skills and things like that. And make time for yourself. Sometimes, our kids can take over in our life, right? That it's like mommy needs time. Mommy needs to schedule time in for herself. And it's okay to let your kids know, hey, right now it's mommy time. It's mommy time. And that's teaching them that mommy is a human. And as moms, we're not human doings. We're human beings. And I think that was the mistake I made, that my kids thought I was superwoman and I could do everything. I should have spent more time teaching that I am a human being. I have needs, wants, and desires. And yeah, I think that would be a redo in life. I
Yeah.
am doing that now as an older mom, but as a young
Uh-huh.
mom, I think that I might want to have a redo in that area. So I just
Yeah.
want to encourage women to do that.
That's excellent. I'm going to say one more thing before we wrap up, because you mentioned something that prompted me to just throw this out there. I remember when I was with my in corporate America working in my roles, the companies that I work with, they encouraged education and they offered classes like whether it was Excel or PowerPoint. So I would encourage some women listening to look into the resources that your current company has because they want
Absolutely.
you to learn, they want you to be educated, and they offer a plethora of things that could help you later in life. Just tap into that is what I want to encourage women to do
That's a
as
good
well.
point. You're
Yeah.
right. Absolutely.
Well, wonderful, Tracy. Can you tell us about your books?
Absolutely. Yes. I have two books. They're all both available on Amazon. The first book is called All Things New: Discovering God's Peace and Protection During Challenging Times. And that's a 90-day devotional. And then my second book is called Get Up, Girl, Let's Go: Getting Unstuck and Living Free. And that book is all about my journey of walking through a divorce and being stuck in life. And kind of what we're talking about right here, Terrellon, is how do we redefine ourselves as women, during busy times, and how do we grow spiritually, emotionally, and in so many other areas that we are as women. And so, yeah, those are my two book babies that I have out there, and my job right now is trying to get those out there to women, and I doing some other things. I have a course that I'm actually teaching my book, using my book as the curriculum for the
Mm,
course. And yeah, so it's full. My life is really full,
yeah.
and I still work, but honestly, I work and then I get off work. It's like I got to work my passion now.
Yeah. You
And
look forward
so
to it. You look
I look
forward to
forward to it.
getting off of work and working on your passion. Yeah.
Work my passion, right? So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Tracy. Where can people find you if they want to know more about you and what you do?
absolutely. They can go to tracyhester.com. Also, they can find me on Facebook at Tracy Hester Glass. It has my new name on Facebook. And then on Instagram, it's I am Tracy Hester Glass. So I'd love to connect. If you guys have any questions or advice, feel free to reach out.
Thanks for listening to Time Out with Tinseltown Mom. If you're enjoying the show, please consider leaving a positive review on Apple. I want to get this podcast in front of a wider audience, so any encouraging words you can leave will be so helpful. If not, just continue enjoying the show. Until next time.